Spring is here. I love spending time outdoors in the woods, so it'd be a good place to make some videos when I'm not looking at albums. So, see that tree over my shoulder? That's this old dead tree that looks really evil and metal, and I don't know, I always made a point of sitting on this bench and relaxing when I'm going for my walks, but besides the point. So I just want to take another 5 minutes just to talk about my relationship with metal, and maybe just a couple things about me and my channel and whatnot. So, metal, just one of those things. I never get bored of it. I can think about it all day. I can talk about it all day. Maybe it's kind of sad, but outside of my family, it's really the most important thing to me. I don't have a lot of interests that really grab me outside of that. I have other interests, but nothing that I'm truly passionate about. It's kind of strange because I've never been in a band or never really been part of the scene. Um, I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We're kind of homebodies, right? It's always been that way. But going back to metal, I was born in '83, and I had some older cousins. And growing up, they were into Skid Row, Warrant, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Metallica, that kind of stuff. And I was always intrigued by it. And then I saw the video for Judas Priest, Love Bites on TV somewhere. Kind of scared me, but I was intrigued. And then maybe around the age of 10, I remember going to the record store with my dad, who was more of a classic rock guy, but he bought Led Zeppelin 1 and 2 on CD. Some old record store in Scarborough. I think it was called A&M Records. It's long gone now. And that was my intro to something resembling metal. I remember just, Friday, Saturday nights, just hanging around the house when you're young, just cranking some Led Zeppelin on the CD player, jumping on the couch, all that stuff. And I also remember around that age being outside and seeing some guy with a Megadeth shirt. And I look at my dad, I go, look at that shirt, that's cool. And he was like, don't even think about it. My first thought was, he hates the cool stuff. Why does he hate the cool stuff? But that's okay. He's not really been into anything heavier than a Led Zeppelin. But that's fine. So, as the years go on, I, from those cousins, got my hands on some Guns N' Roses. I got the Use Your Illusion tapes, the Wayne's World soundtrack. That was a big one for me. Against Bare Naked Ladies, that was one of my favorite groups when I was a little kid. They're more just a pop rock band, but that was my first musical love. So around the age of 12, my family moved to Vancouver from Toronto. And we drove across the country, some in the States, some in Canada. But to keep us entertained, we'd drop off at stores. I don't know if it was Target or Walmart or whatever it was at the time. But they started saying, pick something to keep you entertained. Besides the Ace Ventura VHS that, we had a VHS TV in the car and we watched Ace Ventura about 20 times on that trip. But at least. But I'd start buying Hit Parader magazine. And even though I grew to think of that magazine as kind of a joke, it was more of an alternative thing at the time, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. But there were small columns on metal bands, made some reviews, some ads. And I started getting intrigued by the big names of death metal, the Morbid Angel, Death, Obituary, the big names. And soon after that, my mom let me use her credit card and I joined Columbia House, if you remember that. And I was able to get quite a few albums. I mean, my first 10 CDs from Columbia House, I think it was Obituary, Napalm Death, COC, some of the old Slayer. What was in that first batch? Oh, it's starting to slip away from me. I got an L7 one, I remember. Overkill. And from there, I just started buying. Metal Maniacs magazine, once I got my hands on that, it went to a whole nother level. There was an issue in, I'd say, early 95 with Merciful Fate on the cover. And that one blew my mind. Didn't get a Merciful Fate till years later. But yeah, I just started to in the pages of Metal Maniacs, you could get to the more underground levels, or some mail order catalogs, Century Media, Relapse, Osmos. It's not you didn't buy anything. I remember I had a Century Media uh, order guide that I just read that thing, like a book 100 times. Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal was a Canadian book by Martin Popoff, who's still making books about metal. And I read that thing from page cover to cover a million times. As years gone on, I got into hip hop quite a bit as a teenager, but I never stopped loving metal. But none of my friends were ever into metal. I didn't really start going to shows up until my 20s. And people to this day, they get, they're taking a little bit aback. You got no tattoos, you got short hair. I don't think that really matters. I found it a lot happier when I got into my 30s, and I always had some metal shirts laying around, but when I got into my 30s, it came like, this is who I am. And, if I don't have to dress nice, if I'm not at work or an occasion where I got to be presentable, it's jeans and a metal t-shirt. Every day, it's just who I am, and I felt much happier being able to present myself like that for what it is in a small way. So, those just some early years. I guess, there's too many years to cover, but that's how I got into metal. And if you watch some of my videos with my son, I got 3 kids, but my oldest one is Patrick, who I introduced him to Kiss, and he really got into that, and then he got out of it. But then, about a year ago, he just said, I don't really care about Pokemon and video games anymore. I like rock and roll. And, some people can say maybe I pushed it on him. I don't know. I really didn't. I just exposed him to it. He wasn't interested. And I left it alone for a while, and then one day he was just into it. And he's not into black metal, death metal, and stuff, but he also doesn't say turn that off. He likes rock and roll and the big names of metal. Black Sabbath, Metallica, that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of moments where he does make me proud. Like, just in the car right now, I had some Megaton Sword on there. He's just like, this sounds good. It's just like when something has the essence of metal, he recognizes it. And I think we kind of give each other a gift in a way. I mean, I'm exposing him to the best music that there is. And, some people think that's a joke, but you and I, we know it's true. We know it's magic. And I get to share my passion with my son. It makes me really happy. So who knows how long it'll last. Might be a teenager one day and hate this stuff. But it's a lot of fun. So I got tickets to the Metallica premiere of their new album at the movie theater. I think that'd be a fun thing to take him to start getting his feet wet on going to things. So yeah, it's just my early intro on getting into metal. Patrick actually made one himself, but then he felt kind of embarrassed and didn't want me to put it out. But that's okay. Yeah, this whole thing was his idea. I've never had I've never had a Facebook page. I never had any sort of social media whatsoever, just an anonymous Twitter account that I look at for 5 minutes a day. But he just wanted to make some videos about Kiss and stuff, and I was like, okay, I mean, if you really want to. And then from there, it kind of took the Band-Aid off, and something I was always embarrassed to do. I thought, hey, let me throw some things out there. People watch it or they don't. So yeah, that was about 10 minutes, but thanks for watching, and see you next time.